Yeah, I'm just sitting here looking at you, kind of trying to see in the Jocko brain, and my interpretation as I listen to you and watch you, it's like you've refined this process to such an art form, to such a, I mean, you seem to have this ability to just cut through all the clutter, to cut through all the nonsense, and just get right down to the essence of the issue. I think that's maybe something you might take for granted because I see how quickly and easily you do it. But I would also assume that that's, from maybe 1990 until today, that's just been something that has just been part of your life that you've worked on. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Well, I definitely don't take it for granted because when I was running that advanced SEAL training, I would have young leaders that could not do this when I started working with them, and then over time they get to a point where they can. So it is something that you can learn. It's the art of simplification. It is looking at a complex problem and saying, here's how we can solve this problem. This is what we need to do. The steps for that, what are you going to do? The first thing I need to do is look at the end state. What is it we're trying to accomplish? Some people don't even ever think about that thing. They have a book that they want to write. They don't even think, okay, there's an end state that I want to get to. It is this book. Here is the main premise of the book that I want to convey to people.
Yeah, what's the point?
What is the point? That's it. What am I going to do? Why am I doing this? And then what are the minimum steps required to make that happen, whatever that thing is? So this is something that, yes, I have been doing. And it started in a very brute form, which is looking at operations to conduct. We are going to conduct an operation. Okay, what is the end state we're trying to achieve? And then what are the minimum steps do we need to get there? Every other step that I take voluntarily, there's risk behind it. I don't want to do anything voluntarily. I want to do what I have to do. And if there's something that I'm doing that I don't have to do, I really need to have a good reason for it. And if I can get rid of it, I'll get rid of it. So that's what you're identifying is that ability to look at a complex problem, see all this gibberish. And really, when you first look at a target package or you first have an idea, it's just gibberish in your head. And you've got to take that, you've got to analyze it, you've got to distill it down into the end state that you're looking for, and then what are the minimum steps required to get there? Let's go.
You've had a great deal of success. Is it easier to start something now, today, because you've had all this, perspective, you have this experience of, failing, learning from the mistakes, and then, moving forward? Or do you think it was easier back, when you're first getting started? And I'm asking this because I know a lot of people who watch and listen to this series, they're entrepreneurs. They're wanting to start their own thing. And so, timing is everything, right? Like some people will say, oh, it's the recession or it's the pandemic. There's some sort of excuse or barrier, right? So like, how do you view timing of things? Is it easier now or was it easier back then because you had less of a distance to fall and fail back then when you had, nothing versus today when you're building this empire?
It's the same because they're all one step at a time. I wrote about this in Leadership Strategy and Tactics. I call it the iterative decision-making process. I am not going to, if I have an idea that I want to make something, I want to start making a product. Do I go and build a factory to make that product and invest a huge amount of capital and take loans out and find investors? No, I don't do any of that. I actually might make that product in my shop at my house and make 3 of them for $17 investment and 4 hours of time. That's my investment. It's a little tiny step. Then, I show my friends. They go, I want one too. Well, now maybe I put a little production together and I say, okay, I'm going to make all these pieces at the same time. I'm going to make 20 of these things. I'm going to spend 6 hours doing it because I've kind of cleaned up my process, and boom, now what's the demand signal? Oh, everyone loves them. Or maybe, and if everyone loves them, great. Now maybe I'm going to start to look if I can find someone to help me manufacture them. I'm going to keep taking one small step at a time. I also might make those first 3 and I show them to my friends and they say, this is dumb. And I say, I don't say the market's wrong. I don't say they don't get it. I don't say that it's the timing. I say my idea is not good.
Yeah, these are data points.
My idea is not good, and I'm going to move on to something else. So I'm constantly doing reconnaissance and checking to see what the feedback is. Where people make mistake in business is they don't listen to the feedback. They don't listen to the feedback that they get, whether it's feedback from the market, whether it's feedback from their friends, whether it's feedback from that industry. They don't listen to it. And they think, well, I see the vision and no one else can see it. Now, listen, if that's true, if you have a vision that you think other people just don't understand, well, then what you need to focus on is on the education of them. And you don't want to overinvest in the product. You need to invest in the education first and move in that direction. And then you need to test the education. And if people say, oh, now that I see your vision as well, oh, yeah, I agree with you. But if you educate people and they say, okay, yeah, but it's still not worth it, you need to pay attention to that. So being open-minded and make sure that you pay attention to feedback is incredibly important in anything that you do.
Has there been a time where you ignored the feedback and you pushed through anyway? And then what was the result of that?
I pay attention to the feedback. There's been, even with, I guess the first gyms, so I own a gym right now, Victory MMA and Fitness. The first gyms that we did them small. We did them small. Why? Because we didn't know if we could fill them or not. We didn't know if people would want to come. So you gotta, that's what I always recommend people do. You start small and you pay attention to the feedback. So that's what I've always done. Now listen, as I have more resources, I can put some more resources up initially, but the process is still the same. I'm still going to pay attention to the feedback. And if the feedback is telling me, Jocko, your idea is dumb, I'm not going to pursue that idea anymore.